President Obama has rolled out some new ideas this week to pump more life into the economy. He's also keeping up the pressure on Congress to not extend the Bush tax cuts for those making more than $200,000 a year. Douglas Holtz-Eakin, the former director of Congressional Budget Office, is here now to give us his perspective and to break down the new stimulus plan. He's with us live from Washington. So, Doug, in looking at the time you spent with the McCain campaign as an advisor there, some of these proposals sound quite similar in terms of being supportive of R&D tax credit. You've got to like what the president's proposing, at least on that front.
Well, I think on the R&D tax credit, that's a good tax policy. It's a policy that's been proposed by McCain during his campaign, President Bush during his tenure. Every president since Ronald Reagan, in fact, has said we should have a permanent R&D tax credit. So that's good tax policy. Unfortunately, the business community pretty much bakes into its planning the extension of the tax credit every year, so one wouldn't expect this to really alter their behavior very much. So it's not going to give you much bang for the buck and probably not change the job particularly very much.
But the duration of time for that credit might be a game changer there if it were longer, more than 3 or 5 years.
I think it's the right thing to do, but I don't think it's going to change the conditions on the ground very much right now.
Okay.
It would simply take some of the uncertainty out of the credit.
Well, with the infrastructure spending, that's the other part and parcel of this program. There have been a lot of people who are even middle-of-the-road, nonpartisan, who've supported this idea of an infrastructure bank and getting those construction workers who have been so hard hit by the recession new jobs. Why isn't this the right thing for you?
So there are two different things. One is whether this nation needs high-quality infrastructure and whether our infrastructure programs in transportation and elsewhere should be reformed to actually deliver that. That's all true. $50 billion plugged into on top of the stimulus program is not going to create jobs. We saw in the stimulus there really aren't any shovel-ready projects out there. Trying to do it again is just throwing more money after a failed idea. Put this aside. The things that are in it, infrastructure bank, next gen, are ideas that have been around for a long time. Do it next year in the context of a serious authorization of the transportation bill. But this isn't a stimulus idea and won't create jobs right now.
But you've been recently somewhat critical of the party that you have served with the Republican Party, and the president certainly has been critical, saying that he's not hearing an alternate viewpoint. He's just getting opinions on his. What is it that you think is sort of constipating this process?
So I think the right way to look at the economy right now is to not pretend we're in a situation where we need to do Keynesian counter-cyclical fiscal policy to stop it from falling, the so-called stimulus in political parlance. Instead, we have an economy that's been growing for a year. It's growing way too slowly, much to the detriment of all the millions who are out of work. So we got to think about this as a growth problem and ruthlessly focus on long-term economic growth. That means you should do things now that you'd like to do anyway, like lower the corporate tax rate. We're way out of line with the rest of the world. Things that you won't have to unwind later, like spending that we know we can't afford. Do things now that'll help long-term growth, and that'll improve conditions on the ground. And you have to focus on businesses because they're the ones who are financially solvent.
Oh, I know a lot of the people in our audience would appreciate that lower corporate tax rate. We'll see what happens on that front. Thank you. It's always great checking in with you, Doug. I appreciate your time.